Hello, good evening. It's evening here, so good evening to you, Chad.
Good evening to you, Peter.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, well, welcome back to another episode of the Mercenary Musician Podcast.
I love this. This is just fun for me.
Yeah,
This isn't
likewise.
even for you listeners anymore. Fuck you guys. This is about me. Thanks for joining us, though. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. This is, on some level for you. Today's episode is about singing. So we talked just recently about the triangle, which I'm still deciding if it is going to be called the triangle because we've established that it could honestly just be a line segment, which I guess, a line segment is sort of just a collapsed triangle. Mm-hmm. This is not a geometry podcast, but the triangle, which just quick review, 3 legs to a triangle in case you're just brand new to Earth. Triangle has 3 sides.
Thank you for listening to this podcast.
Yeah, welcome. Get your parents, and they shouldn't be letting you listen to this podcast. This is not for babies who don't know what triangles are yet. All right, we're off to a smooth start here today. Okay, so the 3 legs of the triangle are singing, instrumental skill, and showmanship or chit chat, jokes, all that stuff kind of goes under one leg. So we're just going to hit one leg at a time and see. We may end up covering 2. We're kind of just winging it here. If we get through everything I know about singing and we're 10 minutes in, then we'll just move on to instrumental skill. So singing, I know I've mentioned this 100 times on this podcast so far, but I've been doing this for roughly 7 years as a full-time job. Before that, I've been singing for a little over half my life. About 16, 17 years. I'm about 32 now. I kind of started singing in high school. And there are some technical things that I've picked up. I'm not a vocal teacher, right? But I have done my fair share of vocal lessons and done my share of YouTubing. And there are some things that I know now about singing that I didn't know when I started. And if I had known them, it would have made my life easier. And that's what this whole thing is kind of about, is to make you as a first or second year pro musician, or, negative 1 year musician, you're not quite started yet, make things smoother for you so that you don't have to bump along like I did in the beginning and learn by so much trial and error. So singing is it's like the finite resource next to time. All right, time is obviously the finite resource. The second most finite resource for a musician is your vocal endurance. That's the thing that's going to give out before anything else. It's not, oh, my fingers can't play guitar anymore. People will often say to me like, oh man, your fingers must get sore. It's like, no, my fingers, no. I could play guitar all day, every day. And yeah, it'd be, it wouldn't be the most comfortable. They would get sore, but like they can go. You can go through that.
Well, they can callus up.
They callus up. Yeah, they callus up and you stretch and they get stronger and you can play guitar like all day, every day. Your vocal cords are a different story. That's like a finite thing there. Anybody who's been like a school teacher or something knows you're talking over a class full of kids, your voice just gives out eventually. And actually, speaking is one of the harshest things for your voice. And I actually don't 100% quote me on this, but I'm fairly certain about this.
We fact check here.
Yes, we do fact check. So Chad will check this before this ends up on the episode. So if you're hearing this, that means Chad fact checked it, and what I'm about to say is true. Ha! Pressure's on, Chad. Speaking is supposedly harder on your voice than singing properly, I will say. All right? If you're shouting instead of singing, I'm sure you're doing more damage than speaking. But speaking, and partly you can kind of picture this. The way that I'm talking, there's a lot of stop and go. It's like city driving as opposed to highway driving, right? Where when I'm singing, it's hitting a note and it's staying there, and it's not all this kind of stop and go, drastic changing of pitch, and the consonants coming in, drastic changes of how the airflow is going over your vocal cords. There's no real practical reason for me to have told you that. It's just a fun fact, really.
It's a fun fact.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So your vocal cords you have two of them actually, and before maybe we'll do another episode where I've done a little more research and I can get into the biology of this stuff. But suffice it to say, for our practical purposes here, what you need to make sound is air. You push air over the vocal cords and sound comes out. And I'm just going to stick to practical stuff here because I don't really know a whole lot of the biology and the kinesthesiology and all that shit. One of the absolute most important things when you're singing is to provide enough air. You should not be running out of air. Okay, so one of the very most important things about singing technique is to be always providing enough air. You should have more air than you need. You shouldn't be running out of air at the end of a note. You shouldn't be like, and like pushing like that, right? That's not good for you. You should always have more air than you need. The way one of my vocal teachers described this is picture the note floating on top of a giant bubble of air, right? So when you inhale, you should, as a general rule, you should be inhaling through your mouth. Get an entirely full breath as quickly as you can.
Feel that diaphragm.
Fill it all the way up. Get the air as low as it can go, all the way totally full. You'll feel it will look not sexy, right? Like if you could see my belly right now, there's like a pot belly going on here. It's not supposed to look sexy, okay? It's supposed to make good sounds and do that safely and over a long career, right? If you watch like an opera singer, you'll see their muscles like expand, like they've got like special control over their fucking gut muscles to expand and bring in lots of air. And so inhaling and exhaling are almost equally important. You got to be able to get that breath in there, and then you got to be able to control its release, right? So I still have this breath in here. My stomach is still bubbled. I'm not just like letting all the air out at once. You saw I even took a little breath there, but full breath. I'm just going to let this air out slowly as I speak, and it's all coming out in a stream here, and I'm, like about halfway done, and I'm going to take another breath here so that I never run out. Again, I want to say here, I'm not a vocal instructor. This isn't intended to be a vocal lesson. It's just kind of the general stuff that I've learned. So the main point for this little beginning phase part here of this episode is always make sure that you have more than enough air in your lungs. Big breath and control that flow of air on the way out. You don't want to be dumping air on one note. You want to be controlling the flow of air. Here's kind of an interesting thing for kind of the trajectory of my voice. If you want to check out our rock band, The Electric Mud, you'll hear a singing style that I use that's really raspy and kind of bluesy, and it almost, like in some of the earlier stuff that we've done, it almost sounds like unnatural. When I listen to that stuff, I cringe a little bit because it's not nearly as good as I am now. The more recent stuff, you'll hear a difference in the vocal quality between the older stuff. The album Bull Gator was the first thing we put out, and the most recent EP that we put out called Black Wool, and even the one in between those two, Burn the Ships. You'll hear, it's Chad, most flattering friend ever. He's got the vinyl framed on the wall. It's very sweet.
They were sweet enough to sign it for me.
We signed it. Yep, it is a fucking cool looking album.
All of them have been cool.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I stand firmly by Burn the Ships and Black Wool. I think those are sick. Bull Gator is a good first effort.
It's the precursor. You needed it because it released your character, if you will.
Yeah.
The band's mascot.
It did. It brought the gator.
Brought the gator
out into the world. Anyway, sorry, go on.
And it gave us Because It's Round.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not on that album.
What the hell?
No, that song isn't. Because It's Round is like this song that I wrote like before I was even in the band, like 10 years ago.
It's so
and
good.
It doesn't fit the band.
It's so good.
And people like still request it, and it just like doesn't. It's like, this is not what we're doing. We're doing like a heavy rock like metal thing.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't sound like anything else in the band. We released it on an EP, and then took it down because the EP sounded so not like what we were going for.
That makes sense.
Okay, anyway, you'll hear my vocal style in Bull Gator and Burn the Ships and Black Wool, those three releases. And you'll hear like I'm gonna sing a little bit here. It's like, well, here we, like that kind of like raspy thing, and that can sound cool. I used to do that a lot more, even with my solo stuff, as I did this kind of like raspy bluesy thing, and I found that that a better idea for the solo stuff, especially for the solo career, I'm playing 6 to 8 gigs a week, is to just do the best vocal technique I possibly can and let my voice sound the way it sounds. And that is what I do now. And I still get the rasp on some parts. And I can still, if I wanted everything to sound raspy, I could do that with more or less good vocal technique. But when I just focus on just doing good vocal technique, I'm just like, that is my first priority when I'm singing here. I'm not trying to sound a certain way necessarily. I'm just trying to do good vocal technique. And I found that framing of how to sing at these gigs, if you're going to do this full time, 8 gigs a week, your voice needs to last. I need my voice to last. I need to not get, polyps on my vocal cords that need to be removed surgically. Like I just need that not to happen. Although I did just recently buy disability insurance, which would cover that if that happened. But that's beside the point. I don't want that to happen. It happened to John Mayer. It happened to Adele. They both had to have their vocal cords surgically worked on to get polyps removed from them. You don't want that.
Are there ways to rehab the vocal cords in between your gigs?
Yes. So that there's some kind of like best practices type stuff. The most important, there are 3 really big important things for keeping your voice healthy. That's warming up before, and I've heard that cooling off, doing like basically a vocal warm up after you're done, can be helpful too. I do that. I've had mixed advice on that. Nobody has ever said don't ever do that, but I've had people say yes, that's great, and some people say it doesn't matter. But I do it anyway because it feels good.
So you should treat it like a physical workout.
Yes, absolutely. So you should definitely be warming up. And there are great YouTube videos. There's this one YouTube channel, we can put a link in the description, but it's God, I forget the name of it, but it's like a YouTube video and it's got like a purple screen and it just says in white lettering the name of the vocal workout. So it'll say like arpeggios or whatever. And it'll go, the guy's got all different, I think he's a German guy who's just, he says like, okay, and we're doing this exercise, it'll go like this. And, there's like 2 minutes of that exercise and then it'll move on to the next and he's just playing on a piano and you sing along with it. It's really excellent. He's got like, dozens of different ones. Like here's a 30-minute vocal warm-up. Here's a quick 5-minute vocal warm-up. Here's an hour-long vocal exercise, like daily vocal exercise. I use his videos a lot and they're very good. So yes, you should always be warming up before you sing. Absolutely should always be doing that. And I will say related to that, when you start your gig, you shouldn't jump right in with the most intense song you do. You should
boil the frog.
You should boil the frog, exactly. You should start with a song that is almost like an extension of your vocal warm-up. It should be the next level of intensity above your warm-up. And then you should go the next level above that and just warm up as you go. Like just let your vocal cords acclimate to what you're doing. The other thing, so one of the 3 most important things is vocal warm-ups, right? Hydration. You should always be hydrating. This means staying away from alcohol and caffeine as much as you can.
And cigarettes.
And cigarettes are bad for you, of course. Staying away from alcohol and caffeine because they dehydrate you. Or if you're gonna have alcohol and caffeine, have a lot of water. Have a lot of water either way, but have extra if you're gonna do alcohol and caffeine. You need to stay hydrated. Super important for your vocal cords. It's not just, don't envision it as like, oh, I'm putting water and it's splashing over my vocal cords. It's hydrating your whole body so that your whole body has enough water. That's what you need. You need to be hydrated. The third thing is, and this might be a little weird, sleep. Make sure you get enough sleep. That's very important for your voice. You may notice if you like pull an all-nighter, the next day your voice fucks. It fucks.
Yep.
And not in a good way.
Yep. It's fucked up.
Yeah, you'll notice if you get 2-3 hours of sleep. I always notice when I have a bad night's sleep, I wake up and my voice feels rough. So those are the 3 main things that I know of that are like the three kind of pillars of keeping your voice healthy: hydration, warm-ups, and sleep.
Have you ever experienced or tried like an aloe vera drink?
Yeah, I've had them.
Post-show.
I've had them before.
It's just more of like a soothing
Yeah,
liquid, for lack of a better term.
and this is we should one day have a real vocal coach come on the show.
We will.
Yeah, we should do that. I don't know, and I don't. I mean, I'm sure it can't hurt. If it's hydrating you, it helps
Yeah,
a
so-
little in that way, at least.
Imagine it as if like the after workout protein shake. You would have the after workout
Yeah.
aloe vera shake just to kind of
Yeah, that could be good.
relax and soothe the cords.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not going to say yes or no. I don't know. So I do want to say that your vocal cords, I don't. So we have this kind of idea that like, oh, I drink water and it, like the water itself that you're drinking is like dousing your vocal cords. I don't think they're actually connected in any way to your esophagus. So I think that like when you drink something, it doesn't actually touch your vocal cords. I'm not sure. I mean, this would be probably a cursory Google search would tell us exactly how they're connected here, but like I don't think that. I think it's a misconception that you drink water and the water as it's going down your throat is soothing the vocal cords.
Yeah.
I think it might feel that way. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know the biology there exactly. I get the sense that they're like kind of either in or connected somehow to your trachea, the air, the windpipe, which doesn't get water down it, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's enough of me totally speculating about biology I don't really know about. But another important thing here is taking breaks. This is what breaks are for. So when at least, well, this is one of the things that breaks are for. The other thing that breaks are for, there are a couple other things that breaks are for, but this is like the practical, like the health reason. This is the reason that a person should take a break for their own health. The other reasons for taking breaks are for the show and for tips and for connecting with the audience, those types of reasons. And for business reasons, we're going to do a show on breaks. I had a really interesting thing that happened at one of my gigs where I was having such a great gig with the crowd that was there. They were so into it and they were like really digging it. And I was skipping breaks and I was making a point of skipping breaks and telling them I'd usually take a break here, but you guys are so good. I'm going to keep going. People love it. They throw you $20 for that sometimes. And these people were. And so I kind of blew through a break and was getting toward like blowing through a second break. And the hostess came up and was like, hey, you got to please take a break. And I was like, oh shit, I hadn't thought of that. What was happening? This was a really popular restaurant, really popular part of the year. The turnover. Yeah, I was keeping tables there that weren't eating anymore. And I like it slipped my mind. Honestly, I wasn't thinking about it. I was thinking about my own thing. And I was like, shit, forgot. And I apologized to all the servers involved. I said, oh my God, I totally didn't think about the turnover. I'm sorry. Both of them are totally cool about it. They're like, yeah, I don't. One of them was even like, I don't know. Yeah, less work for me. But really, there's a business consideration there for breaks sometimes. Taking a break lets the tables turn over, and it's good for you too. I mean, even though this table gave me an extra $20, had I had two more tables in their place, it might have been $40. You want the turnover just as much as bartenders and servers do. So anyway, a little bit of a lateral thinking episode there, but
it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, I was getting too focused. So I was laterally moving from why breaks are important. You need breaks for your vocal rest. So another thing is you can kind of zoom out a little bit on this, right? You want breaks within your shows. You also want your work week to have vocal breaks, right? When I was working 13 nights in a row, one night off repeat, one of the most unhealthy things about that was the lack of vocal rest that I was getting. I was singing every day, sometimes doubles, and I was hurting myself. I didn't think too hard about it. I was, younger, where you tend to feel a little more invincible, and I was hurting myself. I was doing myself harm because of that. And now I've got now it's looking like it's going to be 4 days off a week every week. After April, it will be. I'm on alternating 3 and 4 days off right now, but I'm going to drop the Thursday gig. It's just, I can do it. It makes sense. So now I've got 4 days off every week for vocal rest, which is just amazing. I get back to work on Friday. For sometimes, pretty often now, the Fridays are doubles. I get back to work on Friday and I'm excited. Doesn't hurt at all. Feels great. My voice is there, strong for all 3 days. It feels like I could sing for 2 more days if I wanted to, but I don't have to. So you want to structure vocal rest into not only your shows, but you want to zoom out and structure vocal rest into your work week. And here's another kind of thought here. That gig where I was skipping breaks, like I just was talking about, that one of the reasons I was doing that is because I knew that I had vocal rest coming up. This was the last gig of my work week. So I was like, okay, I've got a crowd who's into it. I'm checking some boxes here. Got a crowd who's into it. My voice feels great right now. I'm hydrated. I'm sleeping well. I'm warmed up. I'm not pushing. I'm not overexerting my voice even, during the show. So I can skip a break here because I've got 4 days of vocal rest coming up. Like starting right after this show, I can stop,
I know recently in the last couple of years you've gotten heavy into meditation, right? And
Yes.
it allows you to kind of view the internal side of what you're feeling, right? Physically, and aside from emotions too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that has helped you in some way to better understand your vocal cords and like just how your body's processing?
Absolutely. There's almost nothing about my life that hasn't been improved by meditation. It's just, to me, it is the absolute most no-brainer thing to spend 5 minutes of your day on. 5 minutes or more, but I mean, a minute, honestly, even. Just taking a minute to sit and be mindful of your body and your thoughts. It has absolutely changed my entire life. And this is like, it's touched every single part of my life, every single part of it. And yeah, this is no exception. I've been meditating every day for like 4 years now. And yeah, I can, when I'm being deliberate about it, I can think about, well, not think about is the wrong word, but I can be mindful of what my vocal cords feel like. I can be mindful of how hydrated I feel, how dry my mouth feels, how I can be mindful of sounds even more. I'm better at knowing how in key I am because of my mindfulness. I'm better at playing guitar because of my mindfulness. I can be more mindful of, I'm pushing down on this string harder than I need to be. I can be more mindful of what my hands are doing. I'm more mindful of tension in my arms and my chest and my shoulders and everything. That's just like, yeah.
Self-diagnostic testing.
Exactly. It's just so obviously helpful in every way. So yes, good question.
So let's let the listeners know what's an ideal app if they want to get involved in.
Oh yeah, meditation.
entry-level meditation.
My favorite meditation app is 10% Happier.
Okay.
I also really like Sam Harris's app, Waking Up. That's a good one. Those are my two favorites. I haven't tried a lot of other ones. I know Headspace is a really popular one.
Try that one.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
It was like 7 years ago, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you get a free, I think, 10-day trial.
Okay.
And you can just rerun the trial if you can't afford the full
Cool.
thing at the time. But
Yeah, Sam Harris's app has this thing where you can like email them and say, "Hey, I can't afford this," and they'll just give you a free year, and then they'll have you just do it again next year if you can't afford it.
that'll be in the notes.
Yeah, so check that one out. Waking Up, they're good, and they've got talks and stuff. Both 10% Happier and Waking Up have talks with like meditation experts and stuff. The only ones I don't really like are ones with music. I feel like
Kind of takes away from the experience.
that's not like
the
what
purpose.
Yeah, those are kind of the ones where they're like, oh, this is supposed to relax you. You should be relaxed. The whole point of this is relaxation, which I don't think is the point of meditation. I think that can be a nice byproduct. The point of meditation is to get clear about what the fuck is actually happening around you and in you. That's what it is. It's not, honestly, sometimes it can be very distressing when you like there's almost this like this period during when you first start doing meditation where like it seems to make things worse. And the reason for that is because you're noticing shit that you weren't before.
Yep.
You're like, man, I'm fucking neurotic and crazy. Yep. Well, you always were. Those thoughts about fucking every stranger on the road and getting into fistfights with the guy who's,
I'm not the only one.
stepping on your toe or whatever. Like all that stuff was happening. You just weren't noticing it. You just weren't taking an inventory of it in a meaningful way that made you say, holy shit, I'm literally thinking about fucking every stranger I see. Like, what is that all about? You know, for instance,
Yeah.
or beating up every stranger I see, or what, you know, whatever. Or I'm like constantly thinking, here's a super common. Man, I didn't notice I was saying I fucking hate myself. I'd like to die 1,000 times a day. You just like that is like that kind of thought, and like you wonder why you're depressed. It's because you are saying to yourself, I fucking suck over and over again. Like it it's just meditation. Just do it. It's like, I swear to God, it's like fucking brushing your teeth. We're gonna look back in 100 years on our attitudes toward meditation, like now, and be like, how did these people not? The way that we look back and think about bathing, we're like, how did these people not do this? It is so absolutely necessary. Like the amount of work that it takes and time that it takes versus the reward is so lopsided. It is absolutely absurd. It's just like the tiniest amount of work for the most enormous benefit. It's just like so.
Why do you think that is?
Why do I think people don't do it? I think that a couple of reasons. I think people think, you know, it would be like if toothbrushing was new. People don't really know the benefits of it. Like it'd be like trying to convince a bunch of adults to start brushing their teeth when they've never heard of brushing their teeth. You know what I mean? But they'd be like, I don't. Yeah, it feels kind of good. Like, yeah, I feel fresher after. You know, like this is something you hear. Yeah, I always feel a little better after. Like that's what people would say if you introduced brushing their teeth. They'd be like, yeah, I feel cleaner after that. Yeah, sure, but like,
With
I don't
brushing
know.
your teeth, you have a problem, right? You have more than likely, if you've never done it, you have terrible breath, yellow teeth, like just poor oral care.
Right, but people don't notice that because everybody does. That's what would happen in a society where no one has brushed their. I'm talking about like a whole society of people who have never brushed their teeth.
Oh, yeah, like
and you're like,
English.
oh, wow,
It'll be
Chad, that's brutal.
There's a reason we put fluoride in our water.
Yeah, it's to control the. This is where it turns into a fucking conspiracy theory podcast. Yeah, it's to control us. Fluoride.
Cannon.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
So yeah, to me that's what it is. It's just like a cultural shift that it's just cultural shifts are slow to change. I mean, think about this. How long did it take people to stop smoking by and large? When it became super clear that smoking was just going to murder you eventually in a painful way. And, you know, it was like people knew that and they're like, "Oh man, I guess I need to do this." Like I know so many people who are just like, "Yeah, I really should," you know, and they just don't. And it's hard to form habits. There's so many reasons that it's not catching on fast. I mean, it is catching on. It's just not everybody is like me yet, where they're just like, I am doing this every fucking day because it is literally the most important thing that I do. It affects, like I said, it affects everything else. Everything else in my life is made better by the fact that I am more able to control my mind. Somebody I heard, I think Sam Harris said something like this, but the prisons are full of people who could have really used an extra 10 seconds to think about what they were doing.
Wow.
You know, like that.
Powerful.
I'm telling you what, it's my mindfulness abilities, skills that I've developed over the last 4 years. It's like having a fucking superpower. It's literally like having a mental superpower that I didn't have before, where what would have derailed my day before is a blip. You know, it's something that I was like, oh, well, I'm experiencing a very negative emotion right now, and I can back up and dissociate from it. I am not this negative emotion. I'm not enraged. Rage is being experienced, and it goes away. And then I deal with whatever the thing was in a calm, cool manner because I can, and that's the way to do it. And I got a minute to think about it. You know, it's just like, it has made my relationships better. It has made my business better. It's made my health better. It's just made everything in my life better. We've been talking about meditation for 10 minutes now, but
That's okay.
Well,
because
yeah.
it all comes back to
it does. Yeah, it does. It's made my vocals. Let's bring it back.
Yeah.
It has made my vocal performances better, and it's made my vocal health better.
and essentially it costs you nothing. It really, I mean, you can do the app if you want to, but once you kind of have the concrete foundation of how to do this,
Yeah.
you can do this anywhere for free.
I mean, sit down and focus on your breath and try to notice what it feels like. That's the instruction. When your mind wanders, notice that, and then go back to focusing on your breath. That's like the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be your breath, but the breath is like where people start usually. I actually prefer to focus on to meditate on sounds. I like sounds a lot. I like the sensations in my hands. You can kind of pick anything and focus on it. Focus on it is kind of a misleading word. See, I said it was super simple, and then I kind of went into explain mode on it. It is simple, but it's so simple that it's almost complicated. It's just so anyway. There's another way to do it too, where you just focus on. You don't really focus on any one thing. You just sit there and whatever
Absorb everything that comes in.
You just kind of absorb everything that comes in is one way to do it. But what'll usually happen is something will pop out. Your mind will pick something and be like, "Oh, I got an itch," and an itch will pop up, and then you'll be focusing on the itch, or you'll be noticing. Really, noticing is a better word, not focusing. You just notice it, and then like that, something else pops up. Maybe another itch, or maybe a sound, and then that is the thing that is most. It's like there's little spikes, and like something spikes up the most, and that's like the peak you see, sort of. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I find it absolutely fascinating. Even if it weren't useful, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like out of all of the episodes we've had, this is like one of the most important things you can start doing today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, Chad. I can't believe it hasn't come up earlier.
We'll have a whole episode.
We should absolutely do a whole episode on meditation. It's just like, I mean, it's just such a fucking no-brainer. I can't believe my girlfriend still won't make it a habit, and it's just like I've stopped pressuring her about it. But I'm like, I'm telling you, that's kind of the thing is you can't pressure someone into doing it. You know,
yeah,
you can't. People have to be like, and that's honestly, sometimes I look back. Put it this way. This is how important and positive meditation has been in my life. Sometimes I look back on my depression and my addiction issues, and I think those were a net positive because they forced me to learn how to meditate. That's how good meditation.
A shift of your
optics. That's how good meditation is. Is I'm literally glad that my life was so fucked up that I had to learn how to do it because, they should just be teaching kids this when they're fucking kindergartners.
Yeah, along with personal finance.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, back to vocals.
Back to vocals, yes. Okay, so let me just recap some main points here. I actually want to make one more point before I recap them. So you should also be taking vocal lessons. You don't have to do this indefinitely. I took vocal lessons for 6 months or so, and it's sort of like learning how to box or something. If you've ever learned how to box or kickbox or do jiu-jitsu or anything.
Yeah, get the fundamentals.
The fundamentals, like if you just learn something, like the difference between no lessons and like 2 months of lessons is infinity billion. You know what I mean? You get the law of diminishing returns thing here, right? But the difference between 0 lessons and 2 months worth of lessons is an enormous difference. It's the difference between me being able to have this episode with you where I talk like I kind of know what I'm talking about, which I kind of do, about vocal technique. And if you caught me 6 years ago before I took any vocal lessons, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know. I just have talent and I sound good,
The T word.
Yeah, right? Take vocal lessons. Even if, and this is kind of one of those things is people think they're good, and maybe they are. But people think they're good, and so they don't need lessons. And that's just not how this works. There's actually there's a list that Wynton Marsalis put together that was just like, it was like a quick thing he did where he was like, this is what musicians should be doing. And one of the things on there was take the best lessons you can afford. And this is Wynton Marsalis, like the best trumpet player alive at the time, I think. I'm not sure if Miles Davis was still alive.
Can you find that by chance? It doesn't have to be today, but between now and when it's released.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. But like one of the things on there, it stuck out to me. Really, the only thing that stuck out, the only thing I remember from it was get lessons from the best person you can afford. And I take guitar lessons every week. I'm looking for a vocal coach. Vocal coaches are hard to find. In my area, I'm in Fort Myers, Florida. I found one guy who I wanted to take vocal lessons from, and he was like, I'm like leaving, going to Tampa for school or something. So I'm looking for a vocal coach. If you're a vocal coach in Fort Myers, hit me up. And
Peter.
Yeah.
at mercenarymethods.com.
That's right. Peter at mercenarymethods.com. So yeah, take vocal lessons. Even if it's just to get the basics down for a few months, do that. And
That's something that needs to be done in person, correct? Unlike guitar, where you could do YouTube videos or
yeah. So with my guitar lessons, I do Zoom meetings, and honestly, before we started doing Zoom meetings, I would have said guitar lessons should be done in person too. But these work. The guitar lessons work over the Zoom meeting. I think guitar or vocal lessons could work over Zoom, but you probably want to be in person because the quality, like the timbre of your voice and the sound of it and the quality of it, they're little things I feel like a vocal coach will have to see. They can see how deep a breath you're taking. They can hear like subtle things. I think vocal lessons should probably have to be in person. I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that. I mean, Google it, look into it. There's a lot of good YouTube stuff out there. Although I've had vocal coaches tell me, and take this with a grain of salt because vocal coaches obviously have incentive to tell you that the YouTube University is not good enough because they make money off of people taking lessons from them. But I have heard that YouTube can be hit or miss because sometimes people don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and you can get wrong information from YouTube. So do a little bit of vetting with that. I can give you a couple of guys that I think are good vocal coaches on YouTube. And there's that guy with the purple screens. That's not really technique. It's just like, here are the scales you sing. You do your drills along to them, and you should know. So this is where a vocal lesson comes in handy. Having those little warm ups are good, but you could be doing those exercises not totally perfectly. You could be doing those scales just like you could play a scale on guitar with horrible technique. Mm-hmm. You got to do the same thing with singing. This guy's just giving you scales. He's playing a scale on the piano and sing this. So yes, take lessons. So let's recap some of the big points here. Your voice is the finite resource. Next to time, obviously. Time is the ultimate finite resource. But the thing that's going to give out on you before anything else in this industry, in this job, is your voice. So you must take good care of it. The three important things for the health of your voice that you can physically control are warming up, hydrating, making sure you're staying hydrated, and sleeping, getting good sleep. And both sleep and hydration are going to be great for all of your overall health too.
The three don'ts.
Yeah, the three don'ts:
alcohol, coffee,
yep,
cigarettes,
right? Yeah, and decaf coffee is actually can be good for you. So,
what about tea?
Yes, tea. I was just going to say it. So, tea with honey can be good for it, and it can kind of like soothe your whole. And this is interesting. This brings us back around to that question that we had. It's like, does drinking something directly impact your voice? That's weird because
if it's secreted through the glands. Or
maybe
it
is. I don't know. Anyway,
I have some homework ahead of me.
Yeah. So tea, yes, tea is good. Tea, even if it has caffeine, it's got less caffeine. Mm-hmm. So hot, like a hot or not hot, don't burn yourself, but like a warm liquid.
Did it take you a while to get comfortable with the breath intervals when you're singing? Like, is there a certain timing that you kind of had to find or figure out?
Yeah. So breathing is really important, and it's something you need to practice for sure. The breath is like the central thing. Learning how to breathe properly, it's something that you don't know how to do, So, yeah, it takes practice. Yeah, definitely all takes practice and conscious thought and, dare I say, mindfulness to improve these things. And to notice, oh man, I'm running out of air on this. So there's, for instance, there's one syllable. There's a, e, I, o, u, right? Are the syllables that you can sing. I've got one of those syllables that I just like dump air out on. Man, I actually haven't taken a vocal lesson in so long. I can't remember exactly which one it was. I think it's a, e, o. I think it's a. And like on one of those syllables, for some reason, like I just dump all my air out, and it's sucks. I don't want to do that. You know,
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, exactly. And all the other syllables, it's very easy for me to take a huge breath and keep it under control and really controlled release air. So I'm, yeah. And there's one syllable. I think it's I can't exactly remember right now, and it's not becoming clear to me immediately here. But there's one syllable for whatever reason where I just like dump. I just go, and then I'm out of air. And you don't want to do that. You want to be in control of your airflow. So like here's just kind of another example of this is you'll notice when you sing a high note that you want to dump air, and really it should be the opposite. You're letting less air out when you're singing a high note. So this was a problem for me where like I get to these high notes and I'm like just dumping air on these high notes. I run out of air on them, and you shouldn't do that. You should be learning how to control your air better so that you're leaving a nice controlled stream of air with high notes, low notes, all notes, and learning through, having a professional trainer teach you how to do this and give you drills to do at home is how you do that. Another thing is you'll notice, like I notice a lot of people they've got like one gear. They can like just belt or they just do the raspy bluesy thing, all the time, like I used to. And that's fine. You can have a career that way, but you're not going to be the best performer you can be. You're not going to be the best artist you can be. If you do original stuff, you're not going to have the widest range of tools at your disposal to make your original music. It's just like, it's just better to be better.
Was it the vocal lessons that kind of helped you grow away from that?
Yeah, it was learning proper technique and being like, I should just focus on technique. Like I should just focus on being a good singer and just having the best technique. It's the same thing with like my guitar playing is I've just, I used to play blues a lot because it was easy. And I was kind of just like, no, I just want to play the blues. So I don't need to learn how to play better. And it's like, as I've kind of grown and learned better technique, I've been able to do more stuff that is interesting to me.
It's interesting to the crowd too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Okay. So, take care of your voice, hydrate,
Meditate.
get good sleep. You should always just fucking meditate every day. I mean, literally for 1 minute you could do. Start with 1 minute.
What do you average per day?
Probably 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's doable for anyone, for the most part.
Yep. Okay, so hydrate. For the love of God, take lessons. Like go find a vocal coach, and in the meantime, go on YouTube and learn vocal technique. Learn what is, for your health. Yes, I mean primarily for your health, primarily to keep your voice in good shape for your whole career, but also just because like there's enough fucking garbage out there. Don't be part of it. Be good.
Yeah, and the reason we have this show is so that you can kind of get over these hurdles that Peter's experienced in the past right out of the gate.
Yes. Quicker. And you don't have to fucking take 5 years singing like a raspy idiot.
Yeah.
So I think
you
it still
can sit
sounds
with
good,
us for
but
45 minutes, then you can sit in silence for 30 and another 15 with a coach. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, just do it.
yeah.
You're committed to this, commit to that.
Yeah. Yeah, just be better, Just be better.
Yeah, that's what it comes down
I'm
to.
not saying you're bad, but just be better. Yeah. That's what I tell myself every day. It's like, you're good, but be better.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
It seems simple.
And it's fucking fun too. I find it just intrinsically rewarding to improve at shit, especially stuff that I like. I mean, this stuff, it is, like I said, intrinsically rewarding to improve at shit, but also what else do I get out of this? I get more money, I get more recognition, I get more applause, I have better shows, I have more fun, I write better music,
better quality of life.
Like everything is improved by improving this thing, so just fucking be better. Okay.
Seriously. And if you are a vocal coach and you're listening to this, reach out to us because we got a whole group that I'm sure is going to be in need of your services.
Yeah, and I want to have a vocal coach on the show too. I'll talk to some of my old vocal coaches and see if they're interested. And man, I was stupidly worried about not being able to fill enough time on just the one singing leg of the triangle, and granted 15 minutes of it is us talking about meditation, but
That's probably the most valuable 15 minutes of the
yeah,
show.
honestly.
Of the
Yeah,
entire
we should
podcast.
do that every episode.
All right, this is the 15 meditation. 15 minute
Rant
meditation.
about meditation.
Yeah.
Brush your fucking teeth.
Well, get excited, folks, because prior to starting tonight's episode, we went ahead and made sure that we have at least an additional 55 more episodes queued up.
Buckle up, baby. We got a lot of stuff to talk
content.
about. Yep.
A lot of shit. Good shit.
All right. So I think that does it for today. Have we done? I feel like we recapped the points twice.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything? Vocal rest.
Make sure you check out those episode notes because there's been a ton of content in there.
Okay, check out the episode notes. I'm gonna recap these points one more time. All right. So stay hydrated, which means avoid alcohol, avoid caffeine, avoid cigarettes, get good sleep, and warm up before your shows. And I like to cool down, do like a little, almost like a warm up after my shows too. Right. Take lessons. Take lessons in person from a coach, and then practice. Your coach will fucking tell you to practice, but just do it, right? Practice at home. Even before you get a coach, you can go on YouTube and you can find some good lessons there. Vocal rest. Structure it into your shows. That means taking breaks to hydrate. You should hydrate in your breaks too. Taking breaks. That means structuring your work week as well to have vocal rest in it. Man, I had one other thing.
I have one final thing.
Okay.
Let's say you're playing a double, right? And you finish your first gig and you're heading to your second and you realize your throat's kind of starting to act up a little bit or cause you some form of discomfort. Have you experienced that? And if you did, how did you overcome that?
I've definitely experienced that. You should really just rest it. You should try not to talk to people in between. Hydrate real hard. Drink a lot of water. Get like a hot, not scalding hot, but like a hot tea with honey in it. Honey seems to help, which, flies in the face of I don't think drinking stuff directly impacts your vocal cords, but tea with honey seems to help.
Thoughts on throat lozenges?
I've never really used them for the purpose, but I guess
maybe like the menthol in them might help in some way.
Maybe.
Just curious. I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
But yes, just do as much rest as you can. Also, you should still warm back up. You should very lightly just, warm back up. And if you've hurt your voice, if your voice is hurting between gigs, that means it probably means you're not singing perfectly technique wise. That means it's time to examine what you're doing with your voice. Unless you're singing a lot, yeah, you're probably doing something wrong if it hurts. Actually, I can say if it hurts, you're definitely doing something wrong. It should not hurt to sing. It shouldn't hurt after gigs. So, yeah.
Yeah, if you're experiencing
take a note of that.
Shoot us an email.
Yeah, well, I'm not a doctor, nor am I a vocal coach, but if you're experiencing anything that you'd like to talk to us about with your vocal situation, for sure, shoot us an email. But I do want to say, we're not doctors, we're not vocal coaches. Get a vocal coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one other main point I wanted to kind of just recap. When you're singing your set, right? So you warmed up in your car on your way to the gig. You're hydrated. You sit down. Don't immediately go into death metal, right? If you can help it, boil the frog. Yeah. Start with a nice chilled out song. That'll also your audience will usually appreciate that too. Yeah. All right. I think that does it. That was a nice chunky one.
Yeah, that was solid, folks.
Yeah.
If you like what you heard, we encourage you to go check out our other episodes. You can find them on Podbean, Apple Podcast, Audible, YouTube, Spotify, and you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.